Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Your brother Liaquat Zaman here again, and another lesson of inheritance. So now we've reached the granddaughter's share. So we're continuing with the share of those people who have a stipulated share in the Quran. So one of them is the granddaughter. When we say granddaughter, what we mean is the son's daughter. Okay, so when we're talking about granddaughter, we're not talking about the daughter's daughter. We're actually referring to specifically the daughter of the son, or the son's daughter. Now let me just illustrate this because this can become a bit confusing to people. So if I was to draw here, let's say husband and wife, and they had children, from these children, both children, let's say a male child and a female child, both of them can potentially have children, right? So the parents have grandchildren. So when we're talking about the granddaughter, we're actually referring to the daughter of the son. So if I take a red here and I highlight this, okay, this one here, right? So we're talking about this one here. We're not talking about the granddaughter from the daughter's side. Okay, so the son's daughter. Okay, now that's been cleared. There are 6 scenarios for the granddaughter. So first, the same 3 that we covered in the daughter's share, exactly the same, are the same that we're going to be covering in the granddaughters. So there's 6 altogether. 3 of them overlap with the daughters, and I've just copy and pasted the daughters scenarios here. If you can't understand them, go back to the daughters video, watch that again, and then come back to this. So you have here, you can see half a share if there's only one. In this case, it would be granddaughter. So if there's only one granddaughter, let's put a G there, half a share. And if they, so with the calculation here as well, you know, we'll put down granddaughter here, one granddaughter, and the granddaughter will get half, and then the remainder will go to the uncle, and so forth. Okay, so I explained that. The next one, if there are 2 or more granddaughters. So if there's 2 or more granddaughters, right, then they share 2/3, just like the daughters do. So there's 2 or more granddaughters, they share 1/3. So you're going to start off the calculation with a 3, or in this case, let's just make this into a granddaughter, put a G there. So if there's 2 granddaughters, they're going to get 2/3, and the uncle will get the remainder. We're going to start the calculation off from 3. So 2 shares are going to go to the 2 granddaughters, and the remainder 1 is going to go to the uncle. And the final one, if there are any grandsons, right? If there's any grandsons, then it automatically becomes a 2-to-1 ratio. Now I want you to remember this scenario, okay? This scenario, I want you to remember this scenario because it's gonna come in handy when we talk about the fifth scenario. Okay, and so this scenario is basically you got a wife here and there's no children, so the wife is going to get a quarter, but there are grandchildren, so the grandchildren are going to get the remainder, and it's going to be divided according to a 2-to-1 ratio. So we're going to start off the calculation from 4, give 1 to the wife, the remainder 3 going to go to the grandson, granddaughter. It's going to be divided between them, 2-to-1. 2 goes to the grandson and 1 goes to the granddaughter. If you can't remember this, go back to the daughter's share scenario, the one we did last time, and watch that again and come back to this. Right, let's do scenario number 4. So scenario number 4 is where the granddaughter gets a 1/6. This is when there is 1 daughter in the calculation. So if you have 1 daughter in the calculation, then the granddaughter will get a 1/6 automatically. Okay, so let's do a little scenario here, straight line here. So we have in this scenario, let's have a daughter, let's have a granddaughter, and let's have an uncle. Okay, right, so the daughter, because there's one daughter gets a half. And because there is a daughter and a granddaughter, granddaughter gets 1/6, uncle gets the remainder. So let's start off the calculation from 6. So the daughter gets 3, the granddaughter gets 1, and the uncle is going to get 2. So 3 pieces to the daughter, 1 piece to the granddaughter, and 2 pieces to the uncle. And there you have it. That's basically how you're going to figure out the calculation for if there's 1 daughter with the granddaughter. Okay, so she gets 1/6 of the share. Right, number 5. Now I want you to remember this one because this is linked with the one that we mentioned before. So in this case, she gets nothing, 0. The granddaughter gets 0. When does she get 0? Right. So the granddaughter gets 0 if there are 2 or more daughters in the calculation. So if 2 or more daughters are alive in the calculation, then the granddaughter does not get anything at all. She becomes deprived. Right? So let's draw a scenario here. There's 2 daughters, there's 1 granddaughter, and let's say there's a brother. Instead of uncle, we'll use a brother this time. Brother and the uncle, their function is the same. So 2/3 to the daughter, 0 to the granddaughter. Brother gets the remainder. We'll start the calculation from 3. Give 2 pieces to the 2 daughters and 1 to the brother. And if you make our chart here, it's a bit slightly wonky chart, but two pieces go to the daughters and 1 piece goes to the brother. Now, you see, remember this. Remember I told you in the 3rd scenario, yeah? The daughter gets 0 because of the 2 daughters, or the granddaughter gets 0 because of the 2 daughters. However, there's an exception to this. If, however, in that same calculation, there is, so unless there is another grandson. So if you have a grandson, so with the granddaughter, grandson, now the 3rd scenario kicks in. So the 3rd scenario, it overrides basically this case. And it's a special case where there is a grandson. So let's say 2 daughters, 1 granddaughter, and 1 grandson. Now normally, if there was just a granddaughter, she'd just get 0 there. But in this case, she gets the remainder, 2-to-1 ratio. So 2 go to them 2, and 1 will be divided between them, the grandson and granddaughter, according to the ratio 2-to-1. Okay. Now I'm not going to explain the ratio here because that would require obviously learning how to divide, 1 into this. But inshallah later on, I'm going to explain this in further detail where we talk about more complicated calculations. But as you can see, scenario number 3 here, it overrides 5. So you can make a note of that. Scenario number 3 overrides scenario number 5. And that's it basically. Okay, so number 6. Number 6 is also a 0. The granddaughter gets 0. When does she get 0? When there is a son. So the son actually overrides her, so she doesn't get anything at all. Because of the son will take the remainder, and she actually gets deprived in this scenario. So yep, again, and even if there is a grandson, she can't receive anything here. So let's say there's a husband. Husband gets 1/4. Okay, so a quarter. The son gets the remainder. Granddaughter gets 0. Even if there was a grandson, she still wouldn't receive anything, right? So the 3rd scenario doesn't override scenario number 6. Just remember that. Okay, so so if you had a calculation, you start off from 4, give 1 piece to the husband, give the remainder 3 pieces to the son and nothing else, and have a little diagram or a cake here. 1 piece would go to the husband and the other 3 pieces would go to the son. So I hope you guys have understood this. I hope you guys have benefited from this. Alhamdulillah. Let me know, give me some feedback. Let me know what you think of the series so far, how I can improve it, if you're benefiting from it. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.